This rider does everything he thinks he's supposed to do. He sees the danger, he reacts, he tries to swerve out of the way, and none of it is fast enough. So here's the uncomfortable truth most riders don't want to hear. The human brain moves slower than a motorcycle does. By the time you decide to swerve, your bike has already burned up the space you needed for the maneuver. And this is where riders get into real trouble. We love the idea of that dramatic last-second dodge, but at 40 miles per hour, a motorcycle needs more distance to move 3 feet sideways than most riders realize, a whole lot more. That's why today we're talking about the myth of the quick swerve and the 4 simple truths that explain why braking is a much better choice in many of these life and death situations. Stick with me, because once you understand what's happening in that slice of time between when you see the hazard and you decide to do something about it, your riding can get much safer. Before we get into reaction time and decision making, we need to start with the most basic truth of all. A motorcycle can slow down far faster than it can change direction. And that single fact sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about in this video. A motorcycle can slow down much faster than it can change direction. Riders picture this quick swerve as this dramatic superhero move where the bike just jumps sideways around the hazard, but that's not how physics works. Modern motorcycles can generate close to a full G of braking on good pavement with good tires and good practice and good skills from the rider. They can scrub speed incredibly fast, but sideways, it's not even close. Even a well-executed swerve only moves the bike a few feet over several car lengths of forward travel. That mismatch is why last-second swerves almost never work the way riders imagine. You can lose a lot of speed in 1 second, but you can't move very far sideways in that same second, and that difference is what catches riders off guard. At 40 miles per hour, the difference between swerving and braking is huge. When you hit the brakes hard at speed, a modern motorcycle can slow down dramatically in just 1 second. You can scrub off a big chunk of speed almost immediately as soon as you start on the brakes. But if you try to swerve at 40 miles per hour, the bike simply can't move sideways fast enough to help you a whole lot. Even a sharp, well-executed swerve only shifts the bike over a few feet, while you travel more than 50 feet forward. So in the same amount of time that braking can save you, swerving barely changes your position within the lane. That's why riders get caught off guard. Forward motion is easy to slow down, but sideways motion happens much more slowly than people expect. So let's say you've got 80 feet between you and the hazard. At 40 miles per hour, you're moving about 59 feet every second, and over 80 feet, the difference between braking and swerving becomes almost impossible to ignore. With strong controlled braking, let's say 0.8 Gs, which many riders can achieve with practice and good skills, you can scrub off roughly 25 to 30 miles per hour in that distance. By the time you're traveled 80 feet, you've slowed down from 40 miles per hour to walking speed, or even coming close to a complete stop if your technique is solid. Braking gives you a huge reduction in speed in a very short stretch of road. But if you try that swerve over that same 80 feet, the motorcycle simply can't move sideways fast enough to be useful to you. A committed maximum effort countersteer only produces about 3 to 4 feet of lateral movement per 40 feet of forward travel. So in 80 feet, you're looking at roughly 6 to 7 feet in total distance. And that assumes immediate input with no hesitation. Most riders never reach that in a real-world situation. So in the same distance where braking can nearly stop the bike, a swerve only shifts you over a few feet within the lane, and that's why last-second swerves so often fail. Forward speed is easy to kill, but sideways movement is slow and limited. Reaction time eats up the distance that a swerve needs to work, and this is where most riders get caught off guard. Before you can do anything, brake or swerve, or even tense up for that matter, your brain has to notice the hazard, understand what it is, decide on a response, and then send that signal to your hands. For most riders, that process takes close to a full second. At 40 miles per hour, that 1 second costs you about 60 feet of travel on the motorcycle before you even begin to react. By the time the rider actually initiates the swerve, the space they needed to make that swerve and maneuver has already disappeared. A swerve only works when you still have room and time to get around the hazard, but reaction time burns into that room long before the bike begins to move sideways. Braking is going to suffer from reaction delay also, but the moment you touch that front brake lever, you begin slowing down in the situation. A swerve doesn't buy you that time, it demands it. And when the distance is already gone, the swerve becomes physically impossible, no matter how skilled the rider is at swerving. Braking can start immediately without waiting for more information, and that's one of its biggest advantages it has over a swerve. When something suddenly appears in your path, an animal, a car edging out, debris in your lane, you often don't know yet how it's going to move or what options you've got. Swerving commits you instantly to a direction, and if the hazard shifts or your gap closes, you're out of choices. So if you swerve left and the car continues moving in that direction, it's already too late to do anything about it. Braking, on the other hand, buys you that time from the very first moment that you touch the brake lever. As soon as you begin to slow, the entire situation becomes easier to manage. Your stopping distance shrinks, your field of view steadies, your brain gets a moment to reassess and make a better decision. Sometimes that decision will be to continue braking to a stop. Other times, after you've reduced the speed, the safe path around the hazard opens up and becomes obvious, and you can let off the brakes and swerve around it. It's called a brake and escape. Either way, braking keeps the door open. A swerve slams it shut. That's why in so many split-second situations, starting with the brakes is the move that keeps more options open to the rider and keeps them safer as a result. Braking reduces impact speed, even if a collision is unavoidable, and that single fact saves lives. Riders often think, well, if I'm going to hit it anyway, why bother braking? But physics doesn't work that way. Every mile per hour you scrub off before impact dramatically reduces the force your body has to absorb. Even if dropping your speed by 5 to 10 miles per hour can be the difference between walking away from a crash and suffering serious injury. When a rider chooses that last-second swerve, that doesn't actually get them around the hazard. They often crash at full speed. But when a rider goes to the brakes first, even if it's too late to completely stop, they bleed off energy the entire time they're approaching, the entire time they're on the brakes. Losing even a quarter of your speed before impact means you're shredding more than half of the crash energy away. In a real-world emergency, that can make all the difference between walking away or going to the hospital. Practicing both braking and swerving is essential because these skills only show up under pressure if you've trained them into your muscle memory. Emergency braking should feel smooth and controlled. It's not a panic grab of the front brake. Swerving should feel like two clean, deliberate counter steers, not a vague lean or a mix of brake and turn. The only way to reach that level of confidence is through intentional, repeatable practice in a safe environment. That's where the MCrider Field Guide comes in. Every MCrider member gets digital access to the full field guide, which walks you step by step through exercises that build real-world braking skills. They teach proper braking and swerving techniques, and they help you connect these maneuvers to real-world riding. And for riders who become pro members, you'll get a free copy of the printed edition of the field guide shipped directly to you. So check your email if you're a pro member and you pay annually. There'll be details in that email how to get that. Or if you want to just order off of Amazon, this is what the same book looks like. Either book has the same content in it, but this is the one you get off of Amazon, and you can start practicing on your own and developing these skills on a parking lot before you need them out on the road. At the end of the day, riding isn't about guessing what to do in a split second. It's about preparing yourself long before that moment comes. Understanding the limits of a swerve, knowing how quickly your bike can actually slow down in emergency braking, and building the habit of going to the brakes first when the picture isn't clear, those are the things that keep riders upright and safer out on the road. Take the time to practice, build these skills before you need them, and if you want structured drills that walk you step by step through the process, join us on MCrider as a member and put the field guide to work for you. Till next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.